as he did start off with the good news, looking at the outbreak in the Eastern Cape, saying that there haven't been any new cases reported within that particular area. As you would know, as mentioned earlier on in the morning, that the Eastern Cape, more specifically areas like your Humansdorp, Jeffreys Bay, East London, had been hit hard. Eastern Cape was second to KZN. But also the minister talking about the vaccination rollout, Minister, that's also part of those good news, especially for the farmers. But you mentioned that it has been bought in batches and 50,000 has already been administered. Now, when we look at the vaccinations purchased, 900,000 vaccinations, would it be able to cover all risked animals or all animals at risk, including rural communities?
Well, I think that it'll be enough the 900,000 doses will be enough to deal with the current outbreaks that we have had. We've had 450,000 doses administered. The first batch arrived earlier in the year. We've distributed and used that already. The second batch is now here. And I think it will be more than enough to deal with the current virus. But we will continue to order to make sure that we have a stock. The idea is to ultimately eventually have a bank of vaccines available so that we're never running short, and then obviously be able to produce our own.
Yeah. And Minister, I mean, it seems as though the spread of foot and mouth disease is due to farmers not adhering to regulations, specifically the restricted movements. But now also identification is also a problem with the livestock. We just heard now one of the directors saying that should livestock owners not register their livestock, it's going to come to a point where they cannot participate in trade.
Just on the first one, it would be incorrect to put the blame with farmers. Yes, there are some farmers who don't adhere to the regulations, but there are also others in the value chain, livestock agents, auction houses, feedlots that don't stick to the regulations, and that it leads to the spread. So I don't want us to, for a moment, to put the blame at farmers' doors exclusively. That being said, biosecurity is everybody's responsibility. And all of us, even people who don't farm, should be very aware of biosecurity, going through foot and mouth disease areas, making sure we follow the protocols. The protocols are in place for a reason, and if everybody stuck to the protocols, we wouldn't have outbreaks. People wouldn't be moving animals that are from disease areas. But we're going to have to focus then on ensuring that when we have disease management areas, that there's a high degree of adherence, and it's in the sector's interest to ensure that these things are adhered to, because we've seen the economic damage it can do to farmers and to the entire value chain, and also ultimately to consumers, as we've seen with the price of beef in the last few months going up because supply has been constrained. So it's everybody's interest that biosecurity is treated with the high degree of importance that it deserves.
And lastly, Minister, do we have any numbers yet of how much of a loss it has been for the country, especially when we look at the imports, especially after the suspended imports from China, Namibia, Zimbabwe?
Well, our export market's not that large at the moment, given the fact that we're regarded as a foot and mouth country with it prevalent here. So the export market's not very big, but we've seen a constraint in the domestic market. When a big feedlot, such as Karen, for instance, stops producing, they're a major supplier to supermarkets, to restaurant chains, and a variety of other sectors, including the vehicle leather sector and the like. And so it does have an impact. When you're not able to slaughter as well, it has an impact on food security. Although we don't have numbers yet, I'm sure those numbers will start to flow out. Agbiz and others are constantly watching those. But it impacts on food security as well. So, for instance, the fifth quarter, the head and some of the entrails are not able to be used. And that obviously is something that's consumed by a large number of particularly poorer consumers in the value chain. And it constrains that supply as well, access to cheap food as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That is the Minister Katlego for Agriculture, Sir John Steenhuisen, of course, post a briefing wrap-up, talking about some of those issues that are faced by the industry, but also giving the good news, as mentioned, that no new cases had been reported in parts like the Eastern Cape, but also the vaccine rollout, where government has able to purchase 900,000 vaccines that will be administered to the affected livestock.
All right, so that's Sipha Kema out in Cape Town in Parliament, giving us that post-briefing by the Minister of Agriculture.